Karl Marx sits in the dim light of the British Museum, scribbling the foundational texts of Das Kapital. He is writing about a terrifying future where every human interaction is reduced to a cold transaction, a world where even kindness is a commodity bought and sold for a profit. He had no idea that over 150 years later, he would describe the career of Jimmy Donaldson, Mr. Beast, with frightening accuracy. We view Mr. Beast as the internet's greatest philanthropist, a modern-day saint who builds wells and pays for surgeries. But through a Marxist lens, Mr. Beast isn't the solution to capitalism's failures. He is its final, most dystopian evolution. He has perfected an economy where human desperation is gamified, and charity is no longer an act of mercy, but a high-yield digital asset. Marx warned us that under late-stage capitalism, everything, even our empathy, would have a price tag. Mr. Beast didn't just find that price tag, he built a billion-dollar empire on it. This is how the world's most popular creator perfected the exact dystopian economy Marx predicted over a century ago: commodity fetishism. In the first volume of Das Kapital, Marx introduces a concept that explains why Mr. Beast's videos feel so mesmerizing yet so hollow. He wrote, "A commodity appears at first sight an extremely obvious trivial thing, but its analysis shows that it is a very queer thing, abounding in metaphysical subtleties and theological niceties. When you watch a Mr. Beast video, what are you actually looking at? You see a suitcase filled with $100,000. You see a brand new Lamborghini. You see a house being given to a homeless family. To the average viewer, these are just good deeds. But to Marx, these are commodities in their most fetishized form. In a Mr. Beast production, money is never just a medium of exchange, it is a prop. It is a visual effect designed to trigger a biological response." Marx argued that commodity fetishism occurs when the social relationships between people are masked by the exchange of objects. Think about it. When Jimmy hands a random person $50,000 for staying in a circle, we aren't seeing a social connection. We are seeing a person's value reduced entirely to the cash in their hand. We don't see the systemic poverty that makes that $50,000 a life-altering miracle. We only see the magic of the money itself. The money becomes a godlike entity that solves all problems, hiding the ugly reality of the labor and desperation that created the need for the money in the first place. Mr. Beast is not giving away money in the traditional sense. He is converting human struggle into a high-yield digital asset. Marx warned that in a capitalist society, all that is holy is profaned. The sacred act of charity has been stripped of its human soul and redesigned to satisfy a recommendation algorithm. It is the ultimate commodification. Kindness itself has become a product you can subscribe to. Human alienation. Marx's theory of alienation is perhaps his most haunting critique of how capitalism breaks the human spirit. In his economic and philosophic manuscripts of 1844, he wrote, "The worker becomes all the poorer the more wealth he produces, the more his production increases in power and range. The worker becomes an ever cheaper commodity the more commodities he creates." Now, look at a Mr. Beast challenge. A participant is placed in a white room for 100 days. Another is buried alive for 50 hours. Another survives in a wilderness for a week. On the surface, it's a game, but in Marxist terms, it is pure alienation. The participant is the worker, and their production is their own suffering. They are separated from their family, their environment, and their basic human needs, all to produce a spectacle for a global audience. Marx argued that under capitalism, the worker is alienated from their species essence, their true human nature, by placing people in sensory deprivation or extreme physical conditions just to pay off student debt or buy a house. Mr. Beast literally strips them of their humanity to see how much value can be squeezed out of their endurance. They aren't there because they want to play a game. They are there because they are economically coerced. In one video, a man stays in a circle for months to win money for his family. We watch his mental health decline. We watch him weep. This is exactly what Marx meant when he said the worker's labor becomes an object, an external existence that exists outside him, independently, as something alien to him. The contestants' pain is no longer their own, it belongs to the Beast brand. It is a raw material, like coal or iron, mined from the human psyche and sold to us as entertainment. The more the contestant suffers, the more wealth the video generates. They are a cog in a machine that requires their total alienation to function. They sell their life activity to obtain the means of subsistence, turning their very existence into a game of survival. Exchange value. To understand the genius and the horror of the Mr. Beast model, we have to look at how he treats human life as a balance sheet. Marx famously distinguished between use value and exchange value. In value, price and profit, he noted, as exchange values, all commodities are merely definite quantities of congealed labor time. Take the video where Mr. Beast pays for 1,000 people to have cataract surgery. The use value of that act is immense. 1,000 people can now see it is a genuine good, but in the logic of the channel, the exchange value is what matters. The cost of the surgeries is a variable capital investment. The congealed labor time is the months of planning and editing. The goal, to produce a thumbnail and a title that generates a surplus value of 150 million views. If curing 1,000 people only generated 100 views, the Beast empire would collapse. The mercy is only viable if it is marketable. This creates a terrifying feedback loop. Marx warned that capital must always seek to expand because the cost of curing blindness or building 100 houses is so high, the next video must be bigger, louder, and more viral to pay for the last one. This is the commodified charity loop. It is a self-sustaining microeconomy where the viewer's attention directly funds the next spectacle of wealth distribution. You, the viewer, are the consumer of this charity. Your attention labor is what gives the video value, which the brand then harvests to buy more good deeds. It turns the audience into passive participants in a digital coliseum. We aren't being inspired to help, we are being conditioned to watch. Marx believed that the market eventually turns everything into a quantity. In the Mr. Beast universe, there is no quality of mercy. There is only the quantity of people helped versus the cost per click. It is a cold, calculated breakdown of the human heart into a spreadsheet. Capital accumulation. Marx's most famous command for the capitalist was accumulate, accumulate. That is Moses and the prophets. He understood that capital is not a thing, but a process. It has to move. It has to grow. If it stops, it dies. Jimmy Donaldson often says in interviews that he has $0 in his bank account because he reinvests every penny back into his videos.
Mr. Beast ends every single month with $0 in his bank account.
I mean, at the end of the day, I could spend less per videos if I want to. I'm just focused on making the best videos possible, period. I don't care about making money. I don't care about time. I don't care about anything. I just want to make the best videos on the planet. But at any point, if I was like, oh, I need to stop losing money, don't spend $1 million on the next video. Just spend $100,000. You know what I mean?
Many see this as the ultimate proof of his selflessness, but to a Marxist, this is the most aggressive form of capital accumulation imaginable. Jimmy is not a person. He is the personification of capital. By refusing to consume his wealth and instead dumping it back into production, he is accelerating the growth of his beast empire at a rate that traditional charities could never dream of. Marx described the MCM cycle. Money is converted into a commodity, which is then sold for more money. Mr. Beast has perfected the MSM cycle. Money is converted into a spectacle, which is then sold for more money. Because he reinvests 100%, he is able to build a monopoly of attention. He creates a barrier to entry so high that no other creator can compete. This is the microeconomic engine your client asked about. By operating at a break-even point on individual videos, he is actually building a massive, high-yield digital asset, the brand itself. This brand can then launch Feastables, Mr. Beast Burger, and massive merchandising lines. The charity is the marketing department for a global conglomerate. Marx warned that as capital accumulates, it centralizes. We see this today. One man now controls the charity narrative for the entire internet. He has become a private state, providing the services like water, housing, and healthcare that the actual state has failed to provide. He is the benevolent dictator of the digital age, exactly the kind of prince of industry Marx feared would replace traditional society. The reserve army Finally, we have to look at the people who aren't in the videos. Marx spoke of the Industrial Reserve Army, a mass of desperate, unemployed people who exist on the fringes of society. He wrote, "The Industrial Reserve Army, during the periods of stagnation, weighs down the active labor army. During the periods of overproduction and paroxysm, it holds its pretensions in check. In every Mr. Beast challenge, there are 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 people, but for every person in that video, there are millions more in the comments begging for a chance. Jimmy, please help me pay my mom's medical bills. Like, Jimmy, I'm about to lose my house." This is the reserve army of the beast economy. They are the millions of desperate souls who make the contestants replaceable. Marxism teaches us that the system needs this desperation to function. If everyone had a house, if everyone had healthcare, if everyone had their debt paid off, Mr. Beast's content would be boring. There would be no stakes. The spectacle relies on the existence of a massive suffering underclass. The reserve army is what gives the video its tension. Mr. Beast is not a bad person. In fact, by all accounts, he's a very nice one. But that's the point. Marx wasn't interested in whether the capitalist was nice. He was interested in what the system forced them to do. We aren't watching a man fix the world. We are watching a man prove that the world is broken beyond repair. And the scariest part, we can't stop watching. We are the ones providing the living labor of our attention, keeping the vampire alive.
That chimpanzee just made a stone tool, and that one's hunting with a spear. If this looks like the Stone Age to you, you're not wrong. They've wielded stone tools for thousands of years, and some are virtually identical to those crafted by our own ancestors.
So are they truly in the Stone Age or just standing on the edge? Let's find out.
For decades, researchers thought tool use is what separated us from the other animals, what made us human. That was until a revolutionary primatologist conducted a study in the 1960s. Jane Goodall ventured into the remote Gombe Stream National Park in Tanzania. One day, she witnessed chimpanzees at a termite mound repeatedly poke stalks of grass into the holes. The termites would bite onto the grass defensively, allowing the chimp to pull them out and eat them. Astonished at her discovery, Goodall told paleoanthropologist Louis Leakey, who wrote, "Now we must redefine tool, redefine man, or accept chimpanzees as human. Tools are evolutionary game changers. They unlock resources that would otherwise be impossible to reach. In the case of termite fishing, the stick directly aids chimpanzees in acquiring this food source. But this is far from their only tool. Further research has found that chimpanzees actually use over 20 different tools. One of the most important is their use of stone tools. Stone hammers are used to smash open hard nuts against anvil stones. This lets them consume abundant calories they otherwise would have no chance in eating. A recent paper looked closely at this behavior and found something fascinating. Using stone tools to open nuts is not present in every population. Chimps in seasonal, resource-scarce environments exploit nuts more often. But the study also looked closer at the hammers and anvils themselves. They found that they differ regionally and choose a certain hammerstone size depending on the hardness of the nut. The so-called anvils that they smash the nuts against are usually just large flat stones that happen to be near the nut trees. These anvils are fairly distinct archaeologically, and researchers have found evidence that their use goes back at least 4,300 years, meaning that this behavior likely extends far into prehistory. What is also interesting to note is that some populations do not smash nuts at all, meaning some chimpanzee populations are more technologically advanced than others. Another important tool that chimpanzees use are spears. Yeah, that's right, they make their own spears by taking off a sturdy stick and biting the tip to form a sharp end. They use these weapons to stab into the burrows of bush babies, which are some of the cutest animals on the planet. They jam the stick into the burrow, killing the animal, and then they use the stick to get the animal out. These to stab into the burrows of bush babies, which are some of the cutest animals on the planet. They jam the stick into the burrow, killing the animal, and then they use the stick to get the animal out. These spears seem to be used exclusively for hunting animals that they physically cannot get to. They have never been witnessed using them against one another. However, chimpanzees have been documented using sticks and branches to hit each other. They even throw rocks during aggressive encounters. It seems that they have already had their 2001 Space Odyssey moment. So chimpanzees use rocks to crack open nuts. They've 2001 Space Odyssey moment. So chimpanzees use rocks to crack open nuts, they fish for termites, and they even stab prey with spears. So have they truly entered the Stone Age? Well, they are far from the only animals to use tools. Orangutans use sticks to fish for insects and honey. You may have even seen this image of an orangutan spearfishing. While it is true that this orangutan was imitating some fishermen he was watching, he was unsuccessful and pretty much just splashed a stick at the water, so it's not impressive as it might seem. Apparently after this shot he ended up stealing a fish that was already hooked by a fisherman, so I guess that's a win? But plenty of other primates like capuchin monkeys use stones on a daily basis to open shellfish. Even otters use stones to open shellfish. Crows fish with sticks, and octopuses use shells for protection. Tool use is not exclusive to humans nor primates. So then what set our ancestors apart? Well, our ancestors took stone tools to another level by modifying them. By smashing stones together, they broke off sharp stone edges which could cut. This opened up all kinds of new resources for our ancestors. Just as the termite sticks or spears allowed chimpanzees to extract calories out of their environment, sharp stone tools allowed our ancestors to do the same. On the savannas where we evolved, carnivores are constantly killing prey and leaving their carcasses with plenty of meat and bone marrow left over. A study looking at zebras killed by lions found on the savannas where we evolved, carnivores are constantly killing prey and leaving their carcasses with plenty of meat and bone marrow left over. A study looking at zebras killed by lions found that on average, 33 pounds or 15 kilograms of meat was left over. That is roughly 20,000 calories in meat alone, not to mention the marrow. This would have met the daily requirements of about 27 early hominins. But to harvest this meat, our ancestors needed the sharp edges of stone to cut through tendons, scrape off meat, and break into the brains and marrow. This was one of humanity's biggest breakthroughs, and it's not far off of what chimpanzees are currently doing in Africa. The earliest modified stone tools are 3.3 million years old. We don't know who was making them. It was most likely our ancestors or close relatives, but who knows? It could have even been the ancestors of chimpanzees. What we do know is that stone tool use wouldn't catch on until around 2.4 million years ago, when hominids started selecting stone that could hold a sharp edge, and then they learned how to produce efficient tools.
Here's an example of the kinds of tools that our ancestors were using well over 2 million years ago. It's really just a sharp flake of stone, but it's an incredibly useful tool for cutting through flesh and also pounding through bones and other objects. Though it's extremely simple, it was an evolutionary game changer for our ancestors.
Many paleoanthropologists would argue that the intentional development of a cutting edge has to be the lower bound of the Stone Age. Otherwise, otters and capuchins are also in the Stone Age. Chimpanzees have never been documented in the wild creating a sharp stone tool, but they are limited for a number of reasons. First of all, fine-grained stones that create sharp edges when broken, such as flint, are not common in the modern range of chimpanzees. Most of the time it is thick jungle, and the stones they have access to are basically useless for cutting. Our ancestors, on the other hand, lived across open, rocky savannas that often had sources of quality stone. But just because chimpanzees don't have access to the right raw materials for knapping stone, doesn't mean they lack the intelligence to understand it. So researchers had a bold idea. What if we simply taught a chimpanzee how to flint knap? Meet Kanzi, a language-competent bonobo, who was taught to flint knap in the early 1990s. Bonobos are a closely related cousin of chimpanzees, often seen as more socially intelligent. Kanzi was especially intelligent. He even learned how to play Minecraft. But it was this video of him flint knapping that honestly blew my mind. They first focused on showing him how to knock off flakes through percussion, which is what I'm doing here. You literally hit one rock against another rock in order to knock off a stone flake. So now let's watch some incredible close-up footage of Kanzi napping.
Oh, look there what Kanzi made. That's really perfect. Oh, look at that one. Oh, thank you. They would really cut things good.
Kanzi was able to knock off flakes consistently, and after a while, He even came up with his own methods of flint knapping. Instead of using the hammerstone in his hand, he started throwing it at the core. This may have helped him overcome challenges unique to the hands of chimpanzees, or to protect his fingers. But how fascinating is it that he invented a new flint knapping technique? After 2 years of practice, researchers decided it was finally time to put his skills to the test. They gave him an unmodified core of flint and a hammerstone. Nearby was a clear box with fruit inside. It was held shut by a thick nylon cord. In order to get to his reward, he would have to hit off a large sharp flake to cut through the cord. During the trial, knocking off flakes was not a problem for the trained bonobo. However, some of these flakes were too small, so he would try again. He would select the largest flakes and assess their sharpness by looking at the edge and testing it on his tongue. Eventually, he knocked off a large flake and was able to cut open the box. This process was repeated 11 times, producing an abundance of data and artifacts. Now here's where it gets really interesting. When researchers analyzed the bonobo-made artifacts, they found something remarkable. Many of them were virtually indistinguishable from the tools that our ancestors made 2 million years ago. The flakes had striking platforms, bulbs of percussion, and sharp usable edges. The ones he decided to use were the largest and sharpest tools. His method of assessing the sharpness with his tongue may have been the same way our ancestors assessed sharpness, but there were differences too. Our ancestors usually knocked off flakes at around 80 degrees to consistently produce long flakes. Kanzi's flakes averaged nearly 90 degrees, essentially right angles. This is the maximum angle at which these materials will fracture at all. This tells us that Kanzi did not have quite as complex an understanding of flint knapping as our ancestors did 2 million years ago, and this may also be due to chimpanzee hands not being as dexterous as ours. Our lineage has been knapping stone for well over 2 million years. Modern human hands are quite literally evolved to knap stone. It was only in the past 5,000 years or so that most of us stopped. Kanzi's flint knapping was impressive, but it was notably worse than, say, Homo erectus. Either way, it gives us a window into what the earliest sharp stone tools would have looked like. Our minds were already capable of understanding how to create sharp stone edges, and our dexterous hands came later. In another study conducted 14 years later, Kanzi had clearly become more adept at making and using stone tools. Kanzi and another bonobo used stone to break into logs and dig, both getting a reward if successful. Kanzi used flakes like a drill, rotating them to bore deeper into the log. He used larger flakes as wedges to pry into the logs and even used them to chop. In another part of the experiment, he used flakes as shovels to dig into tough sediment to retrieve food. It's interesting to note that Kanzi was far more successful than the other less trained bonobo, indicating that his training really did pay off and allowed him to access these resources. Kanzi lived on for about a decade doing all kinds of fun scientific studies before sadly passing away in March of 2025. These studies show that with human interaction or training, bonobos and chimpanzees can produce intentional stone tools, leaving wear patterns comparable to early human artifacts. Such tool production and utilization competencies are extremely similar to the competencies of early humans such as Homo habilis and Homo erectus. A 2021 study on untrained chimpanzees showed that they did not spontaneously create or use sharp flake stone tools, even when provided with materials, suggesting extensive social learning or training is necessary for this behavior. We know that chimpanzees have to learn how to process nuts with stones and anvils from their relatives who teach them the technique. It's a cultural innovation. In order for wild chimpanzees to start flaking their own stone tools, they would have to have quality stone available to them, and importantly, a reason to create sharp tools. Without direct human intervention, this seems unlikely. But funny enough, capuchin monkeys in Brazil are accidentally achieving what we consider a human milestone. They use stone hammers to open fruits and nuts, but also for a far stranger reason. They smash rocks together to create dust which they then lick up. Scientists really have no idea why they do this. Maybe it's to help them get some minerals into their diet. Regardless of why they do it, they happen to create stone flakes that are virtually identical to early human tools in Africa. These stone flakes have been found in Brazil in layers dating back over 50,000 years ago. At first it was thought that humans were in the region tens of thousands of years before we thought, but it now seems it was actually capuchin monkeys leaving a seemingly human signature. So ironically, capuchin monkeys have unintentionally entered the Stone Age before our closest relatives. So are chimpanzees in the Stone Age? Kind of, but not really. They've been hunting with spears and cracking nuts with stone hammers for thousands of years. And Kanzi proved that bonobos can flint-knap when taught. Yet wild individuals have never made a cutting tool on their own, at least as far as we know. Not because they lack the cognitive capacity, but because they lack the necessity. The story of our own species likely mirrors this pattern. We exploited carcasses with sharp stone tools to get access to an entirely new food source. During severe droughts or food scarcity, tool-using apes had a much better chance at surviving. This feedback loop favored an increasing reliance on tools, and fundamentally shaped what we became. Tool use likely became non-negotiable for our survival. Chimpanzees do not face these same circumstances. They simply need a reason, and let's hope they never get one. Well, that was a fun one. I still can't believe these videos of chimpanzees flint-knapping. I legitimately know humans who are worse at flint-knapping. What topic should I cover next? Comment down below, hit that like button, and most importantly, subscribe. Alright, I'll see you in the next one. Arrivederci.
Something about this forest feels off. Pines twist into bizarre shapes. Spider webs hang crooked and uneven. Red firebugs are crawling on the ground, but the patterns on their backs are warped. A bird flies overhead. Its beak is deformed. There's a reason for all this. This forest sits inside a highly radioactive exclusion zone. It's one of the most contaminated places on Earth. Not far from here, the largest nuclear disaster in history happened in 1986.
A nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened.
Deadly radiation is being released from it.
Thousands died from the radiation's immediate and long-term effects. For humans, the area remains mostly uninhabitable until today. But nature stayed. Plants and animals, wolves, deer, wild horses, birds, and insects. But the radiation changed them. Spring 1986, in the dead of the night. Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant has just exploded. Massive amounts of highly radioactive material like iodine and cesium are hurled into the air. The radiation seeps into the cells of all living things in the area, including this deer. 30 minutes after the blast, it's dizzy and barely able to stay on its feet. The radiation has burned the mucosal tissue inside its digestive tract. Cells all across its body start dying. Blood circulation in the brain falters. And since the blood can't flow properly, pressure builds inside the skull. The deer's blood pressure crashes, it suffers seizures, and multiple organs fail. The next day, the deer is dead. In the following days and weeks, the pine needles change color. First to yellow, then to red. Trees die for kilometers around, giving the area a new name: the Red Forest. A few kilometers away, a shepherd dog lives in the town of Pripyat. For the past day, it's been feeling unwell, tired and nauseous. Its owners are worried. They too feel under the weather, though they don't know why. Then a voice crackles over the radio with an announcement.
Внимание, внимание! Уважаемые товарищи! Городской совет народных депутатов.
Residents are informed about an accident at the nearby nuclear plant, but they are assured everything is under control. Just to be safe, people are told to leave town for 3 days, and to leave their pets behind. The family assumes they'll be back soon, so they leave enough food for the dog for a few days. But the Soviet authorities are lying. They're doing everything in their power to cover up a nuclear disaster of unprecedented scale. Like tens of thousands of others, this family will never return. Their dog is on its own now. 3 days later, the food is gone. On the 4th day, he leaves the house, hungry and searching for anything to eat. He encounters other dogs wandering the empty streets. They too were abandoned and left behind. Suddenly, shots are fired. The Soviet authorities have ordered police to kill all stray dogs, an attempt to stop the animals from spreading radioactive material. The dogs flee into the forest. Just like all the other animals here, they find themselves in the heart of the world's largest nuclear exclusion zone. Radiation remains dangerously high for months. Many animals develop chronic radiation sickness. Blood pools in their livers and spleens, lymph nodes swell, thyroids fail. The animals grow thin and many die. Over the next 10 years, radiation levels drop significantly. The only humans left are workers and guards looking after the ruins of the nuclear plant. Beyond that, the area is almost completely abandoned. In this vast and empty space, wildlife can spread freely. Over the years, the zone evolves into one of Europe's largest nature reserves. Countless animals settle in, bears and lynx, moose and foxes, and multiple packs of wolves. Even some of the original residents remain. Hundreds of street dogs, descendants of the pets left behind, roam the area. Swallows skim over the treetops. Frogs leap through the undergrowth. And they are all followed by their silent companion, the radiation. The first thing you notice are the eyes.
One of the first signs of exposure to radiation is something called cataract in the eye. It's a cloudiness of the lens of the eye that happens to people who are exposed to higher levels of radiation.
That's Timothy Mousseau. He's a biology professor at the University of South Carolina. Few people know the creatures of Chernobyl as well as he does. He's talking to us from a research ship in the middle of the Pacific, studying the effects of nuclear weapon testing on wildlife.
We've had many exciting visits to Chernobyl. I've been going to Chernobyl pretty much 2 or 3 times a year, sometimes 4 times a year.
A so-called cataract is a clouding of the lens in the eye. It's a common disease in humans known as gray star. It blurs the vision, and its most severe form can cause total blindness. The high radiation levels in Chernobyl cause many animals to develop cataracts. The landscape itself has changed too. This is what a natural pine forest looks like: green needles, straight trunks. And this is what a pine forest looks like in the most contaminated areas of Chernobyl. This trunk is twisted, stunted, and misshapen. The wood has changed its color. If you look closely at the rings, you can see exactly when the disaster happened. Near the base, there are these strange clusters of tangled leaves called witches' brooms. This forest doesn't just look eerily strange. It's a stark reminder of what our actions can do to nature. Seeing it can make you feel powerless, but it doesn't have to be that way. Planet Wild is a community-based environmental protection organization. Think of it as crowdfunding for nature. Every month, their community funds a carefully selected rewilding project to restore forests, bring back endangered species, and protect the oceans. Planet Wild documents all their projects in monthly videos so you can see how your contribution helps to protect nature. In one of their latest projects, they used chainsaw detectors to protect one of Europe's last ancient forests. Of course, environmental protection also involves broader systemic and regulatory change. At the same time, collective efforts like these are essential to the larger cause. Support Planet Wild's mission by scanning the QR code or clicking the link in the description. Pay whatever amount feels right for you. The first 100 people to sign up using our code FERN10 will get their first month covered by us. You can cancel anytime after that. Every forest has spider webs. Normally, they're neat and symmetrical like this. But here, in Chernobyl's most contaminated areas, the gaps in the strands are far too large. The patterns are warped and chaotic. This is what a barn swallow usually looks like. Note the distinctive combination of blue-black feathers and a red face. This one from Chernobyl has white patches on its face. Its tail feathers are crooked and its beak deformed, stuck slightly open. A lump protrudes beneath its plumage. A tumor. Many changes are not visible from the outside. You can't see that this swallow will live a shorter life and have lower chances to successfully reproduce. Red firebugs are native to Central Europe. Their vibrant red and black coloring with its symmetrical patterns helps ward off potential predators. But Chernobyl firebugs are different. The patterns on their backs are warped and asymmetrical. Some are missing an eye and the fine black lines are blurred. All of these changes trace back to mutations in the genetic code. This is where the DNA is stored, the blueprint for the insect's entire organism. DNA is made up of 2 strands, twisted together in a shape called a double helix. It's made up of base pairs. The genetic information is stored in the sequence of these bases, kind of like a computer carrying information using ones and zeros. Several of those bases form a gene. The body reads the sequence through complex molecular processes. Genes act as a blueprint. They determine how the bug looks, the pattern on its back, and what it can and cannot digest. They also influence how long it lives, its vulnerability to certain diseases, and even its behavior. Scientists believe these blueprints make up only a tiny fraction of our DNA. Studies in humans suggest that around 8 to 15% of DNA are functional and actively doing something important. Radioactive atoms like uranium and cesium are unstable. They decay spontaneously, releasing radiation. That radiation carries so much energy it can damage living cells the moment it makes contact. It can break DNA directly or split the water molecules in a cell. This creates smaller particles called free radicals. These free radicals then rip through the DNA. Base pairs can be swapped or deleted entirely, or the entire DNA strand can break apart.
When radiation hits the DNA, it damages it. Most of the time the damage is repaired, but often if there's enough radiation, this damage will persist. Sometimes it will lead to a disease like a cancer or a tumor or some other developmental problem.
Many of these mutations have no effect. The body either repairs them or they occur in parts of the DNA that don't serve an important function. But
Joder. ¡Ah! Tengo cáncer. Okay, I have incredible amounts of cancer though. Like, I'm gonna win this. It's the complete bother of it all. But I'm so fucking bad at the game. Ah! My stacking is being really bad. I'm dead. I'm actually dead. Yeah, oh my god! I was looking for anything there! Holy shit! What did I do wrong? If I do this, then I get this, and what do I do here? Do I just like immediately block that? No, because I get an S immediately after. Where do you want me to put this? Oh, I can do that, I guess. Then I get the bar, then I plug the well, then I got another one of those, then I just get 4 S's. I shouldn't have plugged that, I think. It's double bar dependency, but here I get the bar dependency, then I take a bar. Then here they give me that S, which I can't do nothing with it. Like, what do they want me to do with it? Here they don't want me to set up the bar dependency, which I understand, because they just want me to burn. But once I do this, this is fine. Like, what do I do with this? I don't see that. I guess it's less dependent. Yeah, it's a much better placement actually. But like I would need to see the fucking adjustment. I never see that. Then here I just got the worst pieces possible. Okay, I think this should have gone on the left one, maybe. Because I got that S. Then I plugged out, I shouldn't have plugged out, they should have gone to the left. Like now I don't have a left that's built up, and that's why it gets messy. Yeah, should have gone to the left. No, they don't want me to go to the left, they want to do that. Yeah, it's just such bad pieces. Yeah, they see the adjustment, but like everything else is just like terrible. Then here, what do I do with that? I want to do this. Yeah, she just got the bar. I adjust. If I adjust it, fine.
Yo, what did you say? Like, welcome back to another video and today we are back.
I don't even know if I have the brain.
Yeah. And man, hey, without further ado, we're listening to this one review. Let's go. First up, we got Rude Buster. Oh, Buster, why are you so rude? Buster.
Yeah.
Damn. That's fire.
Bro, the breakdowns like of these melodics on these are crazy. Wow. God, send them message. It's funky, like it's groovy. It's like funky 8-bit.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
Exactly what
chiptune.
That is exactly what Toby Fox embodies.
He's the most funkiest 8-bit inspired type sound I've heard, like in our reactions, man.
Yeah.
Very unique. Very unique. My hopes are gone. My dreams are nightmares and my hopes are lost.
Oh boy. Big Mel will show up.
3 months bad luck.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute.
Beetlejuice. It's like Mario. Choir book. Bring it back, feel me? Unc was getting that, man. Where is he? I never found out that dude's name, bro.
Somewhere in Portugal right now.
He had everybody doing that. I let it clip this one day and just send it to him and see if he sees it, bro.
This is a banger.
I love the piano melodics on all of these. Such a great mix of instruments. Percussion go crazy too, bro. So the MJ percussion. Little disco.
And that's a fire. It's fire.
What's that remind me of? Maybe Weekend.
Yeah.
Weekend is Loki.
Groove.
Like, the sequencing on the instruments is crazy. Yeah, he getting jiggy with this one. He getting
Yeah, like you know what? This sounds great.
This sounds great. This be
Joe Spidey. I'm in.
Facts.
Actually, I'm out. Peanut butter spout.
Yup. Oh. Did not expect that.
Okay. Okay. Whoa. That laser shooting.
Like, Slayer would do something crazy. Did a good job. Did a good job. It's only secret job. You know what I'm saying?
I thought it was you could get shot. My bad.
You could get dropped.
Hopscotch.
This little sampling right here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Very interesting instrument blend.
Oh.
Get that, Barrow?
Come on, strings. Bring that melody closer.
Uh-huh.